My name is Chris Hopper, and I am the president of Texas Family Project. And our purpose is to protect the family across the state from this evil that's seeping in as it pertains to drag shows for kids and sex change operations for kids, all the sexual chaos in public school libraries. That is our target. So imagine you're in an affluent part of Texas and you're at a restaurant and a full-grown man walks out, facial hair, breasts hanging out, wearing full black lingerie, the thong and the stockings, the whole nine. And he begins to twerk for these little girls who are there in the audience. And then some of the small kids pull out bills, dollar bills, and puts them in the thong of this fully grown man. What a perversion. What a disgusting environment to bring kids into. And it's happening all across the state. So these all-age storytime hours with drag queens began around July of 2022. And that quickly progressed probably 2 months after, around September, into these all-age drag shows where they upped the ante, if you will. It became more sexual. It became more provocative. They were now dancing in front of these children and twerking up on these kids. So it went from a somewhat benign story hour to a very provocative physical event. The difference between a drag story hour and an all-age drag show is simply the setting in most cases. A story time is going to take place in, again, like a public environment. And a drag show typically takes place in more of a provocative adult setting. And the problem that we are having is that they are marrying these two together. And now you're taking the kids out of a public setting, say a library, and we are interjecting them into this rather adult-specific environment with signs on the wall in neon saying things like, "It's not going to lick itself." I think the motivation for these drag shows for kids is very subversive and evil. I think they are softening the target, if you will. You know, if you were going to attack a certain location, you would bomb this certain location to soften the target and make it easier for you to advance. And I hate to say this, but I think this agenda is softening the target. They're attacking the stronghold, which is the family, but the ultimate target are the children. So this is happening all across the nation, but we have shined a spotlight on the events here in Texas, and what that's done is it's upset the far left. And so now they have this effort, if you will, to do as many as they can and to fill the calendar up with all these drag shows for kids. All-age drag shows for kids specifically, they began to show up on the scene in a rather benign way. Libraries, the occasional progressive church would host these things. And then this thing began to grow like the cancer that it is. It began to evolve into a much sinister thing. And so I would say the demographic who are dragging their kids, and I say dragging because we have lots of footage of kids crying and kids being uncomfortable and kids being scared of what they're seeing. But the demographic that are dragging their kids to these environments are young couples who are themselves confused and I think searching. I most definitely think that these events are used as a recruiting tool to get these kids involved and to make them more familiar, more comfortable maybe even with these environments. I think the societal impact on our society and our culture with this rise and this transgender agenda is, I think it's gigantic, and we won't see the full result for 10 years down the road. So we think all of it's child abuse, from the drag shows for kids to chopping off the penis of little boys, giving girls double mastectomies. These would, in our opinion, all fall in the category of child abuse. It doesn't just end or begin with the surgery. We think it's the drag shows, the puberty blockers, the cross-sex hormones. We think it all works in concert together, and it's all child abuse. So the question that we get asked, and we ask ourselves actually, what leads to a culture who is okay with little boys having their penises chopped off? And we think it goes back to attacks on the family. We think it's fatherlessness in the homes. We think it is a pure war that is targeting the nuclear family here in Texas and the nation. I think you stop this by working together with pastors, with leaders in the community. I don't think it's one solution or one piece of legislation. I think it's everyone working on the same page towards the same goal, and that goal is protecting kids from being abused. I think something that I experienced that I will never forget is we were at this distillery in Roanoke, Texas, and out comes this scantily clad drag queen wearing a short skirt, and he plopped down in front of these 3-year-old kids who were sitting at a picnic table and did the splits, and they could see everything. We were aghast at what we saw. We were shocked. And the most terrifying part of that story was the look on those small children's faces when they saw this perversion acted out in public right in front of them.